There's something that frustrated me in the aftermath of when Kobe and Noah said what they said. I felt like the blow and the criticism was softened a bit because there was this message of, oh, well, this is this endemic problem. They come from this culture where, you do that kind of thing, and this is bigger than Kobe. This is bigger than Noah. Is it fair to assume that homophobia is endemic, and instead should we be just going in these instances, this guy's acting like a jerk, and just criticize that and criticize the individual as opposed to making it about a broader issue?
I think the answer is both. I do think it's endemic. On the other hand, I don't think you can expect every young guy, and by the way, I don't think you can expect every young guy in your office. Well, you work in Berkeley, so you can. But I don't think we can expect everyone to pass a test of cultural sensitivity. The irony, of course, is that Joakim Noah grew up in Soho, and his mom is friends with Nureyev, like one of the best ballet dancers of all times. Those guys are hanging around the loft. And Kobe grew up, very cosmopolitan. Father played in Europe. I mean, spent, a portion of his childhood. Lower Merion is kind of one of those Quakery, enlightened kind of places. So, I mean, the irony is these aren't guys who are in the AAU bubble their whole lives. So on one hand, and someone reminded me of that when I said, hey, we can't expect it. These are the cosmopolitan guys. So I don't know that it's endemic. I mean, endemic is such a strong word. And you hear more and more players who, clearly don't have an issue. I want to start the conversation. And I think, again, visibility, I think there's an assumption that gay people just don't really exist in sports, with the exception of maybe certain women's sports, basketball and golf. And I just think visibility is the antidote. And I just think, and I also think that it's not PC to ask people to be a little more selective. I think it's the greatest, I wrote this on I think the Welts piece or one of those pieces. It's the greatest value play in life. Like, we don't say things, if you say, all you have to do is refrain from saying things like faggot. It's not an infringement on your free speech. The government isn't demanding it. And the upside of that is nobody gets hurt. And everybody continues to exist with dignity. Like, what a trade-off. You stop saying one or two words, and basically you refrain from hurting an entire class of people. Like, easy. I don't think it's a lot to ask.
Is there any context, in your opinion, where it's okay for straight people to say those words? Because I'll just admit it right here. I say pretty much anything, and a lot of it is just because I like the sound of how. I am doing it ironically, and I just like the sound of just how awful things come out of my mouth. And I'll just any kind of slur, I'll say it. Do you think that that's okay for me to do as a straight person among friends? Is that fine? Is it about context?
I mean,
where do you stand on that?
I mean, look, it's not as if I don't use that word in polite company. It's not as if, like, I haven't, gone to a friend's house and said, hey, move the couch over there. Sorry, I don't mean to fag out on you. I mean, I've done that before. I'm not going to lie. And is there a right or wrong context? This reminds me, of course, of the famous Louis C.K. routine, right? And his stand-up act from a few years ago, where he's like, I just miss being able to use the word faggot indiscriminately. Like, it never meant homos. It was this, it rolls off the tongue. It's, I don't know, a little bit onomatopoeic. It was one of the great schoolyard taunts of all times, and now it's been taken away from us. And it's interesting because when he produced Series 1 of his show, he had this episode where you almost saw him backtrack. For those who watched Louis C.K., it was the scene at the poker table with one of his, first of all, there was a gay guy there, Louis' kind of way of saying, hey, I got gay friends. And I don't begrudge him for that. I mean, it was clearly one of the, I think he's probably in polite circles gotten flack for that routine. And then the show was an opportunity to say, hey, I kind of need to back off a little bit. So, it's, listen, black folks use words that are inappropriate out of context for white folks to use. You know, in an effort to, not to get too academic, but, you know, rather than reify, we reclaim those words, right? And gay people are the same way. You know, but I just think context is important. I think context is everything.